So I went to America for my father's funeral a few years ago, and I went to a bar to watch some musicians perform that I had met the previous night in Arizona. And I was talking with one of the musicians who was a white guy, and we were talking, the three of us, um, to a girl who looked Asian, and she told me that she was mixed, like me. She was half white and half Asian. So we got in a conversation. She said she had a Japanese father and I think Swedish mother. And we were talking about how we get compared to celebrities we look nothing alike. And she said she gets most commonly compared to Lucy Liu. She did not look like Lucy Liu. And I told her I get compared to Jackie Chan, Bruce Lee, like pretty much any like kung fu movie type person, or people like Bobby Lee. Now, when I was young, these people, Jackie Chan, Bruce Lee, and Bobby Lee, were the highest visibility Asian men in uh, the USA. So if you look up pictures of Bobby Lee, or if you know who he is, we do not look alike. Like, and I pride myself in my physical appearance. Like, I exercise regularly. I am fit. I have been fit my whole life. Our facial structure is not the same. And I actually made a longer video essay about this, but to be honest, I've kind of lost my motivation to. I pretty much finished it. I just need to add like video clips to it. Maybe I will one day, but I still want to talk about these things, but I'm focused on other things in my life right now. There's an article about Lee Byung-hun, who I guess Western audiences might know him from Squid Game, the guy in the black mask who takes it off at the end. He's very famous in Korea. He's very attractive. He's very fit. He has like the classic Chad face, like very square jaw. He's a good looking man, and he is extremely fit. When he went to America to film for G.I. Joe, he played the character Snake Eyes, or maybe he played Snake Eyes' brother. He was in G.I. Joe. You can look it up. A Korean actor in the old G.I. Joe movie. I say old, maybe like 10 years ago. I don't know. But he was compared to Ken Jeong. Someone actually mixed him and Ken Jeong up. They look nothing alike. Now, this is such a common experience for Asian people to be compared to people they look nothing alike. Because Western people in general, the all Asians look alike stereotype is so common. We do not all look alike. It's just that people have this fixed idea. They're not exposed to a lot of Asian people, so they this is the heart of racism and prejudice. You take one example and you apply it to the whole. You generalize people based on the minute example that you've been provided. Now, back to the story. I was in Arizona talking with this white guy, this mixed girl, and this mixed girl, her white boyfriend came up. First thing he says to me is, "Hey, you look like Bobby Lee." And for me, I know what that is. So I responded, "Fuck you, no, I don't. I know what it is." Like, he comes and Bobby Lee has capitalized on making himself a caricature of stereotypes. If you look up Blind Kung Fu Master, when he was on Mad TV, he dresses in like this stereotypical Kung Fu Master, like what you think of as Asian robes, like flowing white beard, and he goes like me me ma ma ma, like in a Asian accent, right? Which is crazy because Asia has over 50 countries in it. Whenever people say like Asian culture, Asian accent, it's like you can't. Asia is everywhere from the Middle East to Russia to East Asia to Southeast Asia, wildly different places, different looking people. Even in Korea, there's so many varieties of people and dialects, and this just shows how small minded and ignorant prejudice is. So the first thing this guy says to me is, "Oh, you look like Bobby Lee." I instantly knew what it was. He was trying to assert dominance because I'm talking with his girlfriend and compare me to someone who is unattractive, fat, has made a fool of himself for the entirety of his career, who even now on his Tiger Belly podcast um, regularly talks about how he enjoys cuckold pornography based on race. Like he talks about how he likes watching black men welcome Asian men into a gangbang, and that's like the only thing that can make him orgasm. And then he's in a very high profile relationship with a woman who is known for sleeping around while they're in a relationship. And it's like, it's incredibly insulting. I have a pretty high sense of self esteem. After years of low self esteem, I have worked on building up my self esteem and confidence. And to be compared to someone I see as utter scum, because not only building a career on stereotypes and promoting a relationship dynamic that contributes to the idea that Asian men are weak and sexually inadequate, which is something. If I had a tiny penis like Ken Jeong, I would have refused to do the scene in The Hangover where I show my penis, knowing that the stereotype of small penises to Asian men has been used to emasculate Asian men as a whole. I would have refused to show my penis if I was him. So people like this, and let's talk about Bobby Lee, what kind of scum he is, talking about how he had sex. Really, I see it as rape. Like, he said he picked out a girl in Tijuana at a brothel or sex alley who looked like Natalie Portman from The Professional, who was 11 years old at the time of filming. And he says while he's having sex, really raping this girl, she starts sobbing. So he felt bad and power fucked her. So you take an 11-year-old child or someone who at least looked like it, which I don't know many grown women who look like 11-year-old girls. Actually, I know zero. Because usually if they look like they're 11 years old, hey, they're 11 years old. And she's crying, so instead of stopping, you power fuck her. It's grotesque. And then when there was backlash, he's in his typical spineless fucking behavior fashion. He backtracks and says, "Oh, it was just a joke." Just like David Cho said he was joking about raping a Japanese masseuse. Fucking. Anyway. My point is, this is all a tradition of minstrelsy. It's like when people talk about blackface, they don't realize like the history of blackface is actually much deeper than just white people acting like black people. That is definitely a thing. Like if you watch movies like Birth of a Nation, which was Ku Klux Klan propaganda, they literally had white people put black face on and pretend to be like crazy ooga booga rapists. But there were many black people who also took on movie roles and vaudeville type shows where they would act in ways that promoted stereotypes because that was a way for them to make money. In a society that is hostile to your race, what do? You entertain those in dominance by being the monkey, the dancing monkey. They say, "Oh, you must be a stupid black man." So you say, "Yes, master, I am a stupid black man." And when I was young, I used to make jokes about my eyes. I would say, like, "How do you blindfold an Asian person?" With a strip of floss. Asian people all see in widescreen. I would even make jokes about having a small penis. Now, I'm just going to be honest about my penis size. Like, it's like 18 centimeters, I think. Like, I know I'm not like porn star huge, but it's like, and I've slept around with many women, many men, transgender people, and I've seen all kinds of penises in my life. It's different for everyone, every race. And if you Google small black penis, big Asian penis, you can obviously see like the whole black penis being huge. That was fear-mongering propaganda to make white people afraid that black people are savage rapists coming to steal the white women. And then with Asian people, the small penis stereotype was one, a backlash against Sesu Hayakawa, who was a Japanese sex idol in early Hollywood. And then two, when war campaigns started in the Asian region with the Korean War, Vietnam, against the Japanese, it's all like a psyops thing to emasculate, to beastify, to animalize people. The truth of things, and it all is about white people being the default. The truth of things is that there is, you want to talk about black people? Like, there's so many stereotypes about black people, dark-skinned people. Darker skin simply comes from places near the equator. You're exposed more to the sun, so you have darker skin. There might be slight things that happen with bone density, blah, blah, blah. Or I think some people in Africa are more prone to sickle cell anemia. But you look at the African continent, it is enormous. Enormous. And there is so much biodiversity. You have the Dene people, Dene, I think I'm saying that right, who are some of the tallest people in the world. And then I am not sure if this is the politically correct term, but the Pygmy people, who are some of the smallest people in the world, all on the same African continent. And the same goes for Asia. What we say is Asian people. Like, you may have similarities between people, but there's this funny meme of like, oh, look at these lookalikes of certain celebrities of different races, like the black Matt Damon or the Indian Donald Trump, whatever. People try to divide people along imaginary lines based on ethnicity, which is really just this concept of subgroupings within a geographical region. And we apply all these stereotypes because when you separate people, when you divide people, when you categorize people, you can build caste systems, hierarchies of dominance. This is tribalism because dominance means that you can have power over people, that you can subjugate people to serve you. And this is a horrible system where we should all be in servitude to one another based on equitable systems that benefit all of us, because subjugation and dominance simply leads to conflict and oppression and tyranny. Now, going back to minstrelsy, I've talked now about some black people minstrelsy, like the tradition. We see modern day minstrelsy all the time. When I was flipping through YouTube shorts, Stephen He, the emotional damage guy, who doesn't fucking talk like that. He was talking with Dr. Mike, fucking white-ass motherfucker, Dr. Mike, bringing a minstrel Asian on his show, talking about what? Oh, Asian people don't get offended by me, but you get all these white girls. Everyone always attacks white women when they're trying to dismiss a legitimate political conversation. They say, oh, just the stupid white women care about it, which is another form of misogyny and trying to dismiss legitimate complaints from minorities. And Stephen He, you fucking dancing monkey, and Dr. Mike, you fucking apologist, inner prejudice, fucking, you stay in your fucking lane, dude. Yeah, okay, you're a doctor. You went to medical school. You don't know what it's like being Asian, and you fucking bring Stephen He motherfucker, fake ass accent motherfucker. Hey, you think Asian people aren't offended? There's a lot of people like me who are offended, who see you as a fucking dancing monkey, like Ken Jeong, like Uncle Roger, fucking English accent Malaysian dude, putting on a whole accent like, oh yeah, blah, blah, blah. It disgusts me. Fucking bootlicking minstrel caricatures who lean into, no, not just lean into, who make themselves celebrations of stereotypes to appeal to the white sense of, and it's not just white people. I've talked about interminority racism, and like these minstrels, like they're racist against their own race, but to the dominant power group, which is white people in the USA, America is a Christian nation. America is a white nation. And people think that this isn't important when we just had a white supremacist in Arizona who wanted to shoot up a Bad Bunny concert. Why? Because they feel threatened. They feel their power is being taken away, so they want to enact violence through fascist measures. They want to balkanize America so that they can return to power, which is So self-defeating because guess what? It's too late. It's not going to happen. If you perpetuate cycles of violence, you're just weakening yourself. What you should do is try to open your mind. What you should do is try to see everyone as just people and say, hey, we're all sharing this tiny space, this tiny precious planet in this vast cosmos, this tiny piece of time. And most of our problems in the world are human created. Most of the problems we can solve if we simply work together. Now, what else did I want to say? Minstrels. I've kind of lost my train of thought. There was something else I wanted to say. I don't know. I lost it. Anyway, it's important to think about these things like, where do stereotypes come from? What effect do they have? Why and you know how deeply ingrained like that small penis stereotype is, like even Korean people believe it. Even like, and it's not true. It's not true. Like it's so crazy. Like I'll meet like back when I'm in a relationship now, but back when I was sleeping around a lot, like, and I had many experiences. Like I hooked up with the white guy who had a very small penis, and then I hooked up with a white transgender girl who had a massive penis, and it's like people, if they sleep with a white person who has a small or big penis, they'll act like they're the exception and not generalize white people based on that example. But if you see a Asian guy like Ken Jeong show his penis on screen, they're like, oh, that must be everyone. All Asian guys because they have a small penis. I've heard so many crazy stereotypes like um, Asian pussy is tight and black pussy is loose. It's not true. Look, I have been with many women, and no, everyone is different. Like, really, every woman is different and feels different. And also, like, the whole racial preference in dating thing, I've talked about it before in a short. Like, everyone is different. If you're saying you don't like a certain race for dating, or you have certain racial preferences, that's simply built on stereotypes as well. It's built on stereotypes and internalized prejudices, because when you start regarding individuals as individuals, yes, there can be cultures of ignorance and oppressiveness that come out of groups. Every individual has the potential to be any way. Anyway, I lost my train of thought there. There was something else I wanted to talk about. Oh, that fucking guy in Arizona called me Bobby Lee. After I said, fuck you, no, I don't, he walked away, came back later and said, hey, Bobby Lee. Now, I was like, what is this guy trying to do? Fucking start a fight or something? Like, I just said, fuck you, I don't look like Bobby Lee again. And his girlfriend said, oh, but you do kind of look like Bobby Lee. And then the other white guy, the musician who was talking with us, looks at them, looks at me, and he was like, what are you guys talking about? No, he doesn't. And that's the thing. Me and her had just been talking about being compared to celebrities we look nothing alike. But because she wanted approval from the dominant group, approval from her white boyfriend, she was willing to turn on someone who was from her own group, Asian. And subreddits like Asian Identity, they'll say like all Asian women are like this and act like Asian men are not susceptible to this kind of behavior too. But we were just talking about Asian minstrel men, and growing up, like I would say similar things too. Like, I don't want to date Asian girls because they remind me of my mom and blah blah blah. It's Asian girls will say, like some Asian girls will say similar things. I don't want to date Asian guys because they remind me of my dad or brother. And guess what? Whenever I would say those things, it was never true. Never true. There were many sexy Asian girls I knew growing up, and this is like the result of internalized prejudice that's beat into us as minorities. Like, we're bombarded with stereotypes, and we learn to hate our origins, how we look, where we come from, our roots. So we try to shed these things off. We try to gain upward social mobility as a tactic of survival, because we see that we're living in a place that's hostile to our existence. So is the way to solve this bootlicking to the white hierarchy, the white patriarchy? No, it's to demolish it and put everyone on equal footing, which is ultimately more beneficial for fucking white people too, because if you're living in a society where a large proportion of the population is subjugated, then you're always having to keep them in check, which creates, I've talked about this many times, where fascist systems of civilization cannibalize themselves. Because whenever you create a hyper aggressive, competitive society based on dominance, it always creates infighting, where the only currency is violence. It's violent dominance and aggression. And it creates these systems between, like, you think it was fun being a Nazi? No, it was horrible. You had many Nazis always looking at each other. If anyone steps out of line, even high up officers, they would kill them. And look what happened to Hitler in the end. You think the world is friendly to fascism? No, because fascism is in of itself a self-destructive ideology. It's not sustainable on a large human scale, because we as a species know that whatever aggressive urges of dominance may seem beneficial in a premature and short-term sense. Like, they scapegoated the Nazis, they scapegoated Jewish people who were actually, nomadic migrants. And this is the rhetoric you see, like, the Mexicans are coming to take our jobs, the Romani are coming and poisoning our society. It's always the outsider versus the insiders, the in-group versus the out-group. The Orson Scott Card, his book, what was it, Speaker for the Dead, I think? One of the Ender's Games book has this great thing, and, it's kind of sad that he's so insightful, and then you learn that he's, like, homophobic or something. Anyway, he calls, it's this concept of ramen, I think they say, versus, like, pretty much we see foreigners with this intense xenophobia, and we label them as totally foreign and alien, to the point we don't understand that they're human, that they are actually us. So, why do I make these videos? All these things, like, I guess it's because, obviously because I want to, but someone commented on this channel once that it's interesting that I get so little engagement, but I'm keep uploading this, like, heavy content, and it's like I'm talking to the void. And maybe I am, but I see videos as, like, signals, or, like, whoever has access to the internet can see this, can stumble upon this. Maybe it'll do a little something, get them to think about things a little more. Everyone in this world has lived complex lives, and me, I feel fortunate in many ways that I am uniquely positioned in a lot of ways, because of the life I've lived. And maybe just simply by nature of who I am, the way I was born, I am able to understand certain things about the nature of life that most people don't seem to see. Let's call them invisible structures tying people together. So I hope maybe by talking about these things, people can think about them a little more and realize, like everything I said, we're here for a finite time in a very limited space. And we can make life really, really, life is beautiful. and nice, and there's so many great things in it, but it's also ugly and putrid and horrible, and a lot of people are cruel and callous and want to hurt you. And if we are able to group together and fight against the bad in life, maybe we can make things better for us, for everyone. Yeah, everyone always talks about for the future, for our children. No, I mean like now, us. Like, we're all going to die. Why not try to make life fun? Try to make life comfortable instead of always so fighting and tense. And I don't mean like sometimes like even talking about these kind of things is a form of fighting and standing up for um, minorities and oppressed people, the subjugated. Like sometimes it's necessary to engage in conflict, but if it's not necessary, like like pretty much, yeah, the fascism that's growing around the world, putting gay people to death in a lot of countries, and taking away women's rights, and pushing hyperconformity onto people. To me, it's really sad and really fucking stupid. Like, we have all these great, amazing, beautiful things in life, and what, you're going to focus on hate? Like, is that fun? You're going to focus on making people feel shitty? So yeah, I love humanity and think humanity is very beautiful and cool, but I also kind of fucking hate it. I think there's so many dumb, stupid, ugh. So yeah. Anyway, I did write a more organized video essay. Maybe I'll put that at some time, but I keep procrastinating about it and working on other stuff. So I figured I should at least make this kind of video talking about minstrelsy and other things. So things to think about.